On today's episode of The Rig Doctor, we're going to be working with guitarist Kerry Marshall. Kerry's played with everybody from Tori Kelly to Kirk Franklin to Jason Derulo and Lettucey, just to name a few. We're going to be working with him today to maximize his Pedaltrain pedal board for tone and for maximum space.
Today I want to get my tour rig together. I've been having some issues with some of my boards when I'm playing on the road, to the point that I have to unplug and go straight direct to the amp, and which is a huge problem.
We're going to be using a piece of laminated plywood to go on the top of the Pedaltrain pedal board. This is just to maximize our routing space in places where we can place pedals other than what would normally be available. We need to get this finished for Kerry in one day as he's leaving for tour tomorrow with Kean Lede. So let's see if we can make this happen. My name is Mason Marangella. I build rigs for the industry's top professionals. Now, I'm teaching guitarists how to build rigs like the pros, with DIY tips, easy mods, and all the tricks of the trade. I am the Rig Doctor.
So today I want to get my tour rig together. So what I've been having some issues with some of my boards when I'm playing on the road, to the point that I have to unplug and go straight direct to the amp, and which is a huge problem. So I can't use all my pedals effectively. So I want something that's more condensed, that I know that it's set up exactly the right way that I want it to be. So when I'm playing, it feels the way that I need it to feel, and I don't have to second guess if my equipment is not working properly.
As we can see here, we have a Pedaltrain, but we've, kind of have a way that I like to optimize the Pedaltrain. So it's almost like not only are we helping you, Kerry, today figuring out how to optimize this thing and get it reliable, but it's also kind of making the most out of a Pedaltrain board, which tons of people have and people use effectively. But I think that what we're going to do today is actually going to improve upon the surface area that's already there. Yeah, so we literally just have this surface here from Get Off My Case, and this is just literally plywood that is nice lightweight birch plywood that's been laminated, and this is just going to go right on top of the existing Pedaltrain. So Magic City is going Birmingham, Alabama. Yeah. Hometown Heroes. That's what I'm saying. Okay, so where is this going instead of the El Capistan?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and is this a delay or what is this?
This is a delay.
Okay, cool. This is it's got compression and drive. Okay.
Yeah, but it's mainly just really for the drive side. I don't even use the compression. That's what I was saying about the other one, like the compression that you guys have.
Got it.
And I wanted to take this one off. I don't even.
You don't use that one?
Nah.
Okay. I think the first step should be let's take kind of everything off.
Okay.
And then we can kind of revamp and then kind of transfer stuff to this board.
Okay.
Size wise, kind of get the layout right. Then I'll remove the pedals and I'll actually mount this from the bottom. So from the top, you won't even see any screws. It'll all come up from the bottom. So the first step here is really just cleaning the entire surface of the original Pedaltrain. Once we remove all of those pedals, obviously we have the remnants of any Velcro or any zip tie mounts. We want to make sure that we get rid of all those, that we take them off so that there's as flat of surface as possible in order to mount on the new surface that we got from Get Off My Case. With the layout that you had stuff, is that kind of the most desirable place for everything, or do you have if everything were perfect?
Because so the thing with the volume pedals specifically, because I play with my left foot.
Got it. So having it over here. The cool thing about using something like this is that we're not restricted to certain placements in order to get the surface area of the Pedaltrain.
Got it.
So we can put stuff anywhere, and stuff like your jacks being broken off on the back of these, we can inset all this stuff so that there's no chance. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use some painter's tape here, and I'm going to kind of use it to tape off the edges.
Okay.
And just keep it even. The reason why is just because I want to leave, like you talked about how some of your jacks got broken off.
Right.
And I just want to make sure that we don't have any risk of that. Once it's all clean, what I like to do is then mount all of the pedals on the new surface before I mount the surface to the Pedaltrain. This is just to make sure that all the spacing is exactly where I want it. I use some painter's tape to kind of map out the edges. That way I didn't put any pedals too close to the edge. Kerry did have some problems in the past where he got some of his cables kicked by roadies or people on stage, and it damaged some of the jacks of his pedals. So I want to make sure that I inset the pedals slightly from the edge so that there's enough clearance where a cable is not going to get kicked on the jack itself. So it just helps keep everything a little bit cleaner and a little bit less susceptible to having a problem down the line. Once I've done that, then I'm going to mount it from the bottom of the pedal train through the actual pedal train platform, or the pedal train, kind of skeleton for the entire thing, the frame. And I like to use self-tapping metal screws to go through that. That also easily goes through the wood. I also drill pilot holes to hold actual wood screws. So you'll see that there's actually some empty holes there that don't have anything in them that's visible. That's because it has smaller wood screws that are feeding through, and those are just going directly into the pedal train platform. Again, I don't think you need maybe more than 4 to 8 screws to really hold it in there securely, but it's just a good idea to make sure that you do it to keep it as reliable as possible. All right, so in terms of pimping this pedal train, we've got the top platform mounted here. It's a little bit messy because I've just drilled all the holes out that I'm going to need to bring in the power coming up from underneath the pedal board, because a pedal train, obviously we have the pedal power supply underneath the pedal board. I've drilled all this out. I'm going to reapply all the pedals back in their original positions, but I have all these nice neat holes drilled so that I can bring in all of the power cables and keep it really, really nice and neat. And then we're going to do all the audio top side, and it really is coming together pretty quickly here today, which is a good thing for those of you at home that are going to be doing this yourselves. It's a really just easy way to optimize spacing. After the surface is down, I like to go to power first. Now, I've routed 2 spaces in the actual surface so that I can bring the power up from the bottom, because now that we're blocking the channels that were originally on the pedal train, we have to drill some holes through so that we can bring the power up from the bottom. But the trade-off is that we have way more space to be able to route pedals. We don't have any restriction whatsoever on where we put pedals. We can use the entirety of the top of the surface. So that is one big benefit, to always add a platform on top of your existing pedal train. And this is just a 1/2-inch piece of laminated plywood that has Formica on the top and ABS on the bottom. So we have the Cox power supply. It uses RCA cables, which is a little bit different than the norm. However, it is more reliable of a connection compared to a 2.1 or a 2.5 millimeter barrel connector like most power supplies are. It's just a little less than standard, and so you don't always have the same materials. Luckily, I did have some RCA cables handy that were just the jacks for the RCA cables, but we didn't end up needing to use them because I was able to cut all these to length. One thing I should mention is you want to make sure that you measure the polarity on these, because it's a little bit different than the way that you would solder a standard Voodoo Lab style power cable. Where you would normally put the shield and the hot are reversed on this in order to get the right polarity for the majority of pedals. So you just want to make sure you have your multimeter handy so you understand which side is the center and which side is the shield. So just a forewarning on that when you're soldering any of your power cables. And we just brought everything in through 2 holes. It was very easy. Everything reached, and we just terminated each one of these to the exact length that it needed to be in order to reach the pedals. After we finish power, we're going to immediately get into our audio cables. Now, Kerry had some of these cables already made, and for the most part, they were all made very well. They used high-quality Switchcraft ends, so we're going to reuse as much as we can here, and then we're just going to add a couple of new ones just for things that maybe don't reach in this new format or with the new pedals, and just make sure that we're able to save them as much money as possible by reusing cables. Again, this is totally fine to do if you have a cable that you maybe made once before, as long as you're thorough about removing any old solder and kind of just giving it a nice new fresh connection. There shouldn't be any reason why a connector that was previously used can't be reused again. So we're gonna do that as much as we can, and then we'll get into some testing. So where we are at this point, power's been wired, we got the audio cables soldered up, and we're just going to do kind of a sound check here to kind of see where we are. So let's give it a sound check. So we're doing our initial sound check. I haven't dressed the cables in terms of zip ties. I'm just making sure that all the runs are working. We did find that we had an oscillation issue for whatever reason with the D'Addario tuner, so we've gone back to the original poly tuner and all kind of make room for that, but we just wanted to make sure that we have a noise-free and nicely assembled rig here. So we're just going to go in through. I'm going to kind of beat up on the cables and just make sure we don't hear any intermittent stuff, that all the jacks are clean and all that. So Kerry's going to play. think the thing to do now is, you know, the boost had taken a hit on tour, so we're going to take a look at that and kind of diagnose that, get the poly tune kind of in the right place here. I think we'll be ready from there.
Sweet.
Cool.
The biggest difference that I noticed is when I first brought this board in, it was kind of like all over the place. The tones weren't the way that I anticipated hearing the tones. The reason why I got the pedals, they weren't responding the same way. So after Mason got together and really just went through meticulously, making sure that all the cables were right, ensuring that like the cleanliness, the overall cleanliness for the board, I don't have to worry about cables being all over the place, breaking, or the pedals not responding or sounding the way that I wanted it to sound. I feel very comfortable going out and knowing that every night that I perform that it's going to give me the kind of sound that I anticipated having. So I'm super excited and I'm thoroughly pleased because, again, this is how I make my livelihood. So if it doesn't sound right, then I'm not going to sound right. So super excited.
So there you have it. Kerry did an amazing job of hanging in there with us all day. He was here to watch the entire process unfold and sounded incredible. He commented that it had a lot less noise, it looked better, it was more functional, and that he could trust it, most importantly, on the upcoming gigs that he had. Because again, even though he had been using it for a couple of months, he was starting to have reliability problems, even though it wasn't even 6 months old. So I think we've solved that problem for him. We definitely have improved the tone for him based on his accounts, and I believe that we're gonna have something for him that's gonna be working for years and years to come, pending that he doesn't change the rig, which as guitar players we're all guilty of doing, of course. This is a great example for you at home if you're considering updating your Pedaltrain pedal board. You can pimp your Pedaltrain just like this. I highly recommend that you put on a platform surface that you mount on top. And again, this is an old trick that I've seen done by guys like XTS over in Nashville that have very famously just updated existing Pedaltrain boards by doing this. It allows you to have the power supply underneath, and then you can have your pedals on top, and then bring in the power cables strategically by drilling portholes in strategic places in the actual surface. And then you can just route all your audio cables on top. Makes for really easy troubleshooting if anything goes wrong, so that you're not having to turn things on both sides like you ordinarily would on a Pedaltrain. And you have a lot more space to route cables, to put extra pedals, and all those cool things. So one thing I highly recommend if you want to pimp your Pedaltrain pedal board. Thank you so much to Kerry Marshall for working with us today, and thank you for watching. If you're interested in any of the products or things that we used in the video today, please check the description. It has the links for everything. I've given to you almost everything on Amazon, so it's someplace that almost everybody can get this product. It's very accessible, very easy to get, and if it's a custom vendor, I've listed who they are, and you can just tell them that Uncle Mason sent you, and they will know exactly what to do, and they will take care of you. Again, I'm Uncle Mason, the Rig Doctor. Thank you for watching. Until next time, adios.